Today's story was written by Reddit user Competitive Low 5970. Come on, please. It has to be somewhere around here. Cogwin was at her wit's end, and apparently desperate enough to be begging the rotten wooden floor of the abandoned saloon she was in. Psst! Magical weapon! One hand clutching the faded map, Cogwin opened the faded parchment to check where she was again. Following the long-lost roads on the map, her finger once again arrived in the town of Foghorn on the map, the town built on the lakebed of the legendary lake, the lake that held a legendary weapon called Excalibur. Cogwin needed that weapon, right about now. It would honestly be very good timing right about now. Cogwin had lost and given up too much to be here in the ghost town of Foghorn, knee-deep in the barren territories of the long-fallen human civilization. God damn it. Cogwin was sure the spot she was in was at the centre of the long-dried lakebed. Digging her claws into the plank, Cogwin pulled as hard as she could, trying to at least dislodge it a bit. The crown hunters will be here soon, and then she'll be screwed. There was nowhere else to run anymore. Digging her claws deeper into the rotten wood at that thought, Cogwin pulled harder, her muscles strained as she grunted in effort before she lost her grip on the wood and was flung backwards from the force used to tug at the wood. Ugh! Cogwin punched the wooden board, then immediately regretted it as she registered the pain from her punch. Nursing her fist, Cogwin turned towards the doorframe of the building, heart dropping in her chest as she saw the blurry figures in the distance, riding towards the saloon. Immediately standing up from her crawling position, Cogwin reached towards the pair of daggers stashed in her pant legs and found nothing. Right, she lost them by throwing them at the crown hunters, where they promptly flew off into the cliff the crown hunters were standing by. Whatever, she still had her claws. Jumping on the table, Cogwin screeched on the table as the crown hunters entered the room. Goblin, do not resist your death. The crimes of your kind will be paid in full. The crown hunters drew their swords at their leader's statement, the swish of the sword causing a pleasant metallic sound as they were unsheathed. Crimes of what? Fucking existing? Yes. Stupid xenophobic empire bullshit. Cogwin bared her teeth and prepared to rake her claws all over the crown hunter's face. But before either side could make a move, a loud crack resonated in the room. A pale, ghostly hand punched out of the floorboard Cogwin was trying to pry open, their hand holding a bizarre L-shaped contraption. Cogwin stared at the pale hand. What? What are you waiting for? Take the gun and shoot. The voice echoed in Cogwin's head, and, a voice is speaking in her voice, telling her to take a gun? What the hell even is a gun? I am the Lady of the Lake, the keeper of Excalibur, the mistress of justice. Take the revolver and enact your justice, little goblin. Wait, so you're telling me Excalibur is that weirdly shaped piece of wood and metal you're holding? Yes. The voice sounded impatient. The hand in the floor, on the other hand, rose further, revealing an arm now. For centuries I have waited for another worthy of Excalibur. Humanity has fallen, but its spirit remains in it. Rudely, the crown hunters attacked at that precise moment, apparently having gotten over the ghostly body slowly rising out of the ground. Flashing her attention back to the crown hunters, Cogwin barely managed to tip the table over and scramble out of the way before the sword cut her head clean off her shoulders. Arsehole! I was having an in-my-head conversation there. Cogwin spit at the crown hunters, attacking her as she dodged out of the way of another strike, the sword burying itself into a dusty table. By now, the Lady of the Lake's form had fully appeared. She was transparent, but her form revealed her to be a bipedal woman with long hair, wearing a simple dress, her eyes facing forwards, like a predator's. Cracking her knuckles, she rolled her arm before sending a devastating punch, knocking out one of the crown hunters cold. The lady's voice crackled to life in her mind. Eat shit. Wow, was that really what the humans looked like? Turns out, everyone needs to do some serious updating to their drawings of humans. They had just assumed they were more prey-like, considering how peaceful their civilization was truly rumoured to be. Cogwin eyed the laughing lady of the lake with a curious side-eye. So the humans did have a dark side. Grinning, Cogwin caught the gun thing as it was thrown at her by the lady. Holding the wooden handle, Cogwin rushed up to one crown hunter and bashed it on their head. Expecting some serious magical stuff to occur, Cogwin was disappointed when they merely fainted from the blunt force trauma. Hey, I thought this weapon was magical. It is, you're just using it wrong. Grip the handle and pull the trigger, that spring near the handle, while aiming it. Taking the lady's advice, Cogwin aimed as one crown hunter rushed her and pulled the trigger. A bloom of smoke rose from the tip of the weapon as a loud boom filled the room. The gun, like a particularly violent horse, kicked back, almost forcing Cogwin to drop the magical artifact on the ground. The person in front of Cogwin stopped and dropped, a hole in the middle of their chest. Holy shit! Indeed. Standing in the ruins of the room, the lady and Cogwin stood in the centre of a whirlwind of bodies and broken furniture. Cogwin laughed out loud in joy as she stared at the weapon in her hand. You know, most artifacts only allow their own species to wield them. Most artifacts were too prissy to allow anyone but them to wield their precious weapons, which meant that the elder races held all the cards when it came to power, leaving newer races to lick boots in order to get scrap. It doesn't help that artifacts take time to materialise for any civilization. Excalibur is not most artifacts. The voice of the lady was calm, but an edge still held in her voice. Humanity was not most races. Back then, anyone could be a human. Anyone? Anyone. Being human was less being a member of a race at that point, but an idea. The weapon you hold is but a fragment of that idea, crystallized into the form we see now. Justice. If Excalibur represents justice, what are you then? The lady paused, a devious smile on her face. Another ancient human philosophy, one passed on from the earliest days, before even the seedling of Excalibur was even planted. It was called Fuck Around and Find Out. The lady giggled before sighing. Justice doesn't serve itself, you know. The lady of the lake stretched, bones cracking as she readied up for the long journey ahead of her. Come on now. We have a government to overthrow. Cogwin huffed as she followed the lady out into the desert.